Good evening. Today we'll be studying the 17th chapter of Issure. And before we begin the chapter, I think it might be a good idea to give a little bit of a recap of some of the topics and things we've spoken about until this point, and the marriages that are permitted under Jewish law for the various people that we have spoken about until this point. To begin, a regular Yisrael, may marry a Kohenet or a Israelite or a Gioret or the daughter of a Gerim, but is prohibited to marry a Safek Mamzer, a Mamzer, or a Natin. Moving on to something we mentioned a couple of chapters ago in regards to a Ger. And as we mentioned, a Ger can marry pretty much anyone, a Kohenet, a Israelite, a Gioret, or Bat Gerim, a Safek Mamzer, a Mamzer, or a Natin. This is in Perek Tetvav, as we talked about. A Safek Mamzer is prohibited to marry a Kohenet or a Israelite, but may marry a Gioret, or the daughter of Gerim, but is prohibited to marry a Safek or a Natin, and he is also prohibited to marry a Mamzer. That is the Safek Mamzer. Moving on to a Mamzer is prohibited to marry a Kohenet or a Israelite, but is permitted to marry a Gioret or a Bat Gerim. He is also prohibited to marry a Safek Mamzer or a Natin, but is permitted to marry another Mamzeret. Now, something we mentioned in the previous chapter, a Chirut Shofcha is prohibited to marry a Kohenet or a Israelite, is permitted to marry a Gioret or Bat Gerim, is permitted to marry a Safek Mamzer or a Natin, but is prohibited to marry a Mamzeret. Now, in regards to this chapter will deal with, chapter 17 will deal with the topic of Kohanim, the women with whom he is allowed to marry. Also, we'll speak about something called En Issure Hal al Issure, and the certain exceptions for that, something extremely, extremely important for many areas in halacha, and the positive instruction for the Kohen Gadol to marry a virgin. And I think it might be a good idea, if anyone wants to look inside, I'll quickly read the Pesukim in Sefer Vayikra Perek Kaf Aleph Halacha Pasuk Zayin, that pretty much details in the Torah, again, all of the prohibitions of a Kohen and who the Kohen is allowed to marry. So I'll read that quickly. Isha zona v'halala lo yikahu, ve'isha girusha me'isha lo yikahu ki kadosh hu leloha. That is in regards to a regular Kohen, that he may not marry a zona, halala, or a girusha. And in regards to a Kohen Gadol, it says that Mehila, v'kohen hagadol me'ehav, and then it describes the various duties of the Kohen Gadol, and it says later on, Vehu isha b'ftileha yikach, that he must marry a virgin girl, almana ugrusha v'halala zona, et ele lo yikach, that the Kohen Gadol is prohibited to marry an almana. Notice that this was not the case for a regular Kohen. A regular Kohen may marry an almana, but a Kohen Gadol may not. So a Kohen Gadol again cannot marry an almana, girusha, or a halala, or a zona. Ki im betula me'ama v'ikach isha, rather he takes a virgin girl. And with that, I think we'll begin Perek Yod Zayin, Halacha Aleph. Shalosh nashim ne'esru al kol hakohanim, gerusha v'zona v'halala. There are three types of women that are forbidden to all kohanim to marry. Those are a gerusha, a divorcee, a zona, and a halala. A zona is anyone with, as we'll see at the beginning, I believe, of the next chapter, the exact definition of a zona. But zona is pretty much any Jewish girl who had relations, who had forbidden, Zona, as we'll see in the beginning of the next chapter, the Harambam says, Zona amura batorah hi kol she'enah bat Yisrael, any girl who is not Jewish, or bat Yisrael sheniv'ala la'adam shi asura lehinnaseh lo isur hashaveh bakol, or a Jewish girl that any Jewish girl who had relations with a man with whom she's forbidden to marry, or that or if she had relations with a halal, even though she may have been permitted to marry him. That's we'll see in the beginning of the next chapter. I just wanted to define it for all the listeners. The halala, and the halala is a profaned woman. We'll see exactly what that is in the next two chapters. But a halala is someone who was born out of a forbidden kohen relationship, or if a kohen married someone and they had a child, that would be a halala. V'al kohen gadol arba, and there are 4 types of women that would be forbidden to marry a kohen gadol, as I mentioned earlier. Elu hashalosh v'ha'almana, those 3, a gerusha, zona, and the halala, and in addition to that, an almana. Ve'ehad kohen gadol ha'mashuach b'shemen ha'mishcha o ha'merubeh bivgadim. This prohibition of the kohen gadol, this additional prohibition to the kohen gadol of the almana, is relevant whether he was anointed with the shemen hamishcha. Typically, the kohen gadol would be anointed with a special type of oil, and that was pretty much the way he would be appointed. Or hamerube bivgadim, or if like in the days of the second Beit HaMikdash, that there was no shemen hamishcha, the kohen gadol would be appointed simply by him wearing the clothes of the kohen gadol. As this is all explicit in Hilchot Kelei HaMikdash Perek Aleph and Perek Dalet. Ve'ehad kohen ha'oved o kohen gadol sheminuhu ve'avar. This prohibition again of the almana also applies to a current kohen gadol who is working in the Beit HaMikdash at the present moment, or a kohen gadol who was temporary. And by temporary, I mean that he, for example, finished his role of the kohen gadol and kind of retired, or if he was a substitute kohen gadol. He still has the status of a kohen gadol, because the rule is ma'alim bakodesh velo meridim. Once a person acquires a high status, he can't really relinquish himself from it. V'chen kohen meshuach milchama. This also applies to a kohen meshuach milchama. A kohen meshuach milchama was a kohen who was appointed to speak to the nation before going out to war. This is explicit in Melachim Perek Zayin. It was pretty much a type of chaplain of the army, if you could say. Kulan metzuvin ala betula va'arsurin ba'almana. All of these types of kohanim gedolim or kohen mashuach milchama are all instructed to marry a betula, a virgin, and are also prohibited to marry an almana. Halacha bet. Kol kohen shenashsa ahat mehashalosh nashim, ben kohen gadol, ben kohen hedyot, uva'al loke. Any kohen, whether a kohen gadol or a regular kohen, who marries a woman of one of these 3 types and has relations with her, is liable for malkut, which is the punishment for violating a scriptural instruction. ואם בא עליה דרך זנות, אינו לוקה משום זונה או גירושה או חללה שנאמר לא ייקחו עד שייקח ויבעול. But if he had relations with her derech zenut, which is without kiddushin, he does not receive malkut because of the prohibition of zona or girusha or halala, because the Torah says that he may not take, meaning take with the intent, with the connotation of marrying. Because the Torah says ki kach ish, the Gemara juxtaposes, I believe, the fact that a Jew, the fact that the Torah says he kach ish isha, which means he must marry her. So too, if he does not take her and acquire her and marry her, he does not violate the prohibition of zona, girusha, or halala, and he is only liable until he takes her and marries her and then has relations with her. Aval כהן גדול שבעל אלמנה לוקה אף על פי שלא קידש, משום לא יחלל. But a Kohen Gadol who had relations with an almana, he is in fact liable for malkut, even though he did not do kiddushin and did not marry her, because the Torah says that he shall not profane his offspring or the woman. Since he had relations with her, he profaned her, thereby disqualifying her to marry another Kohen. But in regards to a zona, a halala, and a gerusha, all of these three types of women are already profaned and have that status before he enters the picture and have relations with her. This is not the case with an almana, because she would be fit to marry a regular kohen. Therefore, a Kohen Gadol is liable for malkut, and he alone is only liable for malkut if he has relations with an almana, even if he did not do kiddushin with her. And since he profaned her, and he alone is cautioned not to profane those who are valid and have a normal status, both in regards to a woman and in regards to his offspring. Halacha Gimal. Kiddesh Kohen Gadol Almana Uv'ala Loke Shetayim Achat Mishum Almana Lo Yikach V'Achat Mishum Lo Yichalel. If a Kohen Gadol marries a widow and has relations with her, he is liable twice for malkut. One set because of the prohibition of almana lo yikach, that he may not take a widow, and one for violating the prohibition of lo yhalel, of not profaning the women. Uven kohen gadol uven kohen hetiot shenasa isha min ha'arba velo ba'al eno loke. And whether a kohen gadol or a regular kohen that married one of these four types of women but did not have relations with them is not liable for malkut. Halacha he, here in the middle, mehila of halacha gimal. V'chol makom shehu lokeh hi loka. As we mentioned the rule previously in Hilchot Ishut Perek. Sorry, in Hilchot Issure Bi'ah Perek Gimal. Anytime that we said that he receives malkut, she also receives malkut. So to any place that he does not receive malkut, she does not receive malkut. Because there is no difference in regards to punishment between the men and the women, with the only exception being the shifha harufa, the designated maidservant, as we mentioned in Perek Gimel. Halakha dalet, kol kohen haba al hagoya ben gadol ben hediot loke mishum zona shehare ena bat kiddushin v'hu asur biv'ilat zona ben Yisraelit ben goya. Any kohen who has relations with a goya, whether he is a kohen gadol or a regular kohen, is liable for is liable because of the zona category, because she is not subject to any type of kiddushin, and he is forbidden to have relations with a zona, whether she is a Yisraelit, whether she is a goya. Again, even though the goya is not subject to kiddushin, the kohen would still be liable for malkut. Halacha he, hachalutza asura lechohen midivre soferim mipene shehi kagerusha umakin oto makat mardut midivrehem. A woman who halutza was done to her, as we mentioned before, what halutza was in Hilchot Yibum B'Chalitza, and that is a widow who the husband's brother refused to do yibum with her, and the ceremony of her taking off his shoe and then spitting in his face is called halutza, as mentioned before. So that would release her from from being subject to a yabam. So a halutza is prohibited to marry a kohen midrabanan because it's as if she is a gerusha, and if he does marry her, he is liable for makat mardut, for violating something midrabanan. כהן שנשא ספק חלוצה, אין מוציאין אותה מתחתיו, היא כשרה ובלדה כשר, מפני שלא גזרו על ספק חלוצה, אלא על חלוצה ודאית. A Kohen who married a doubtful halutza, we're not sure if halutza was done to her or not, we do not compel them to get divorced, and she is valid and her children are legitimate, because Chachamim only decreed because Chachamim did not decree rather on a sefek halutza, rather they only forbade a kohen to marry a halutza for sure that we know halutza was done to her. So too, a woman who was a sefek gerusha, a doubtful gerusha, we don't know if gerushin was done to her, or sefek zona, or sefek halala, a kohen who has relations with her receives makat mardut and must divorce her with a get. Halacha vav. Now we'll move to an important principle that Harambam here will lay out with the example of the prohibitions of the women, a kohen and a kohen gadol, are prohibited to marry, and the rule is called en Issure hal al Issure, that Issurim, if one Issure, again, if there is one prohibition, it cannot take legal hold where another prohibition already exists, and we'll see some of the exceptions for that. And this principle and these exceptions apply to a great deal of halachot, and are found pretty much all over the Talmud. Halacha vav. Kelal gadol hu bechol isurin shebatorah. The following is an extremely important major principle in regards to all prohibitions in the Torah. She'en isur hal al isur. That one prohibition, again, cannot take legal hold where another prohibition already exists. Ela im ken hayu sheneha isurin ba'in ke'ahat. Unless the two prohibitions came and were created at the same time. For example, if there was a guy, and this guy had a brother, and this brother married a woman, at the moment that the brother and the woman got married, two isurim were created for the original guy. One, that this woman is an eshet ish, and two, that she is now an eshet ah. So again, at the moment that the brother did kiddushin to her, two isurim were created at the same time. That is shnei isurim ba'in ka'achat. O shaya ha'isur ha'acher mosif tevarim acherim al oto ha'isur. Or the second exception for en isur hal al isur is if the second Issur introduces factors that are additional to the first Issur. So, for example, this is termed Issur Mosif, and an example of this is that a second prohibition again introduces factors additional to the first. So, for example, an almana that was already prohibited for a kohen gadol who was divorced, she would now also be prohibited to any kohen. And another example of this is that a certain humra was a certain humra was added to something. So, for example, something was asur only be'achila, and then later on was added that it was isur behana'ah, for example, if something was taken for avodah zarah. And then the third exception of any isur halal isur is o shehaya kolel devarim acherim im isur zeh, or if the second isur is more comprehensive in its application than the first. This is coined isur kolel, and an example of this is um, eating something that was prohibited on Yom Kippur. So the first Issure with this food was that it was prohibited all the time. And then once Yom Kippur came around, all types of eating was prohibited. So that's an example of Isur Kolel, that again, it is more comprehensive in its application than the first Isur. Now, Harambam will demonstrate this. We'll demonstrate some of these principles in the next halacha. Halacha Zayin. Lefikach, isha shehayeta almana. Therefore, if there is a woman who was a widow, who in that case would only be prohibited to marry a kohen gadol, v'na'aset gerusha, and then she was divorced, in which case she would be prohibited to a regular kohen, v'na'asit halala, and then she was made to be a halala, v'na'aset zona, and she and she was made a halala, and then she was made and then she acquired the status of being a zona. לוקה על 4 מלכויות על ביאה אחת. This Kohen Gadol, if he had relations with this woman, would be liable for 4 sets of malkut, even though he only had one bi'ah, only one relation with her. לפי שהאלמנה אסורה לכהן גדול ומותרת להדיוט. Because since the almana is prohibited to a Kohen Gadol, but is permissible to marry a regular Kohen. Hazra liot girusha, nosaf ba isur v'ne'esra l'kohen hediot. Once after she was an almana, then she was divorced. Another isur was added to her, that being that she is prohibited to marry a regular Kohen. Lefikach nosaf ba isur acher al isur almana, and we find that an additional isur, an additional prohibition was added to the original prohibition of the almana. But she is at that point, even though she was an almana and now she is a gerusha, she still has the status to eat teruma. נעשית חללה, נוסף בה איסור, שהרי נאסרה בתרומה, ועדיין היא מותרת לישראל. If once this same woman who was a almana, then was a gerusha, now we find that she is a halala, another isur was added to her, because she is prohibited to eat in the teruma, but she is still permitted to marry a regular Yehudi. נעשית זונה, הואיל ויש שם זנות שאוסרת על ישראל, אם זינת אשתו ברצון נוסף בה איסור אחר. Now we find that this same woman, again, who was a almana, then was a gerusha, then was a halala. Now we find that she was a zona. An additional prohibition, she has an additional prohibition is added to her, because now she cannot marry any Yehudi, because if a regular Yehudi's wife, a regular Yehudi's wife becomes forbidden to him if she does zenut, and we find that an additional prohibition now takes effect. Halacha het. והוא הדין לכהן הדיוט שבעל הגירושה שנעשית חללה ואחר כך זונה, שהוא לוקה 3 על ביאה אחת. And the same law applies for a regular kohen that had relations with a girusha, who then was a halala, and then was a zona, all of which more addition there. For every status she acquires as time goes on, an additional prohibition takes effect. So if the Kohen has relations with this type of women, again, who was a Gerusha, then was made into a Halala, then was made into a Zona, who acquired those statuses one after another in this order, he receives 3 Malkut on only one relations. Aval im nishtana seder ze eno loke illa ahad. But if the order was flipped, the Kohen and also the Kohen Gadol would only receive one set of Malkut, because there aren't any more additional prohibitions that are added if she was a Zonah and then became a Halala and then became a Girusha. Once she was a Zonah, she was prohibited, number one, to marry a Yehudi, obviously to marry a Kohen, and how much more so for a Kohen Gadol. So there aren't any additional prohibitions that are added to this type of women. So the order here is key. Again, if a woman was an almana, then her status and then she was divorced, which adds another prohibition to this type of women. Then she was made into halala, then she was made into izona. A Kohen Gadol who has relations with this type of woman would receive 4 malkut, even if he only had relations with her once. Because again, there are 4 additional prohibitions of this type of women. אבל אם נשתנה סדר זה, אינו לוקה אלא אחת. But again, if the order is changed, he only receives one set of מלכות. מי שנתאלמנה מאנשים הרבה או נתגרשה מאנשים הרבה, אין לוקין עליה אלא אחת על כל ביאה. If there was a woman who was widowed from many men, or if she was divorced from many men, a Kohen who has relations with her, or a Kohen Gadol in regards to an almana that had relations with her, is liable only for each act of bi'ah, and it doesn't matter how many times she was divorced or she was widowed. Almana ben min ha'irusin ben min ha'nisu'in asura. A widow, whether if she was widowed while she was an arusa or whether she was a nesu'ah, she would always be prohibited to a kohen. Halacha. Yes, still in halacha tet. Kohen gadol shemet ahiv. אף על פי שהיא מן האירוסין, הרי זה לא ייבם, אלא חולץ. A Kohen Gadol who his brother passed away, even if it was from the Irusin, where in which case relations would not have been done, Knisal Chuppah was not done yet, the Kohen Gadol should not do Yibum, rather he should do Halitza. And we mentioned this in Hilchot Yibum Perek Vav. He doesn't do Yibum because Chachamim decreed and made a gezerah that he may have relations with her a second time, and this second bi'ah would be prohibited because there is no mitzvah in that case, and the only time he is doing a mitzvah would only be after the first bi'ah with the women, and he should do halitza with her. Nafla lo yevama vehu kohen hediot. Benitmanna liyot kohen gadol. If his brother passed away and the woman was subject to Yibum, and he is at this moment a Kohen Hediot, and then he was appointed to be a Kohen Gadol, even though Ma'amar was done, Ma'amar, as we mentioned, Ma'amar is something Ma'atorah, and the Yabam it does kiddushin to the yevama with the bi'ah, but Hachamim instituted that the Yabam has to do kiddushin in the presence of two edim. That is called ma'amar. But again, Medin Torah ma'amar is not a requirement. So even if ma'amar was done while he was a Kohen Hediot with this woman, he should not do Yibum after he was appointed to be the Kohen Gadol. But if there's a Kohen who did Irusin to a widow and then was appointed to be a Kohen Gadol, he may consummate the marriage with this type of women after he was appointed. If she was mikudeshet, and we're not sure if the kiddushin were fully effective, and then her fiance died, she is a safek almana. Halacha Yod. Now we'll move to the topic of the positive instruction for the Kohen Gadol to marry a betula. Mitzvat aseh al Kohen Gadol she'isan na'ara betula. It is a positive instruction incumbent on a Kohen Gadol that he may only marry a na'ara betula. Na'ara, as we mentioned before, is a girl who is between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half, who is also a betula, who is also a virgin. And once she becomes a bogeret, she is forbidden to him. As the Torah says that the Kohen Gadol must take a woman while she is in her state of being a betula. Isha lo ketana. The Torah says isha to exclude a ketana, a minor. Bivtuleha lo bogeret. And when the Torah says bivtuleha, it is coming to teach us, it is coming to exclude rather a bogeret. Haketzad, so who should he marry? Yatzat mikelat katnut v'lichlal bagrut lo ba'a zo ne'ara. We need a woman who is not in this, who doesn't have the state of a ketana or a bogeret, and that woman is a na'ara. ואינו נושא שתי נשים לעולם כאחת שנאמר ייקח אישה אחת ולא שתיים. And he is also prohibited to have two wives at the same time. As the Torah says, yikach isha, he must take a woman, one and not two. Halacha Yod Aleph. Kohen Gadol lo yisa mukat etz af al pi shelo niv'ala. A Kohen Gadol cannot marry a woman who lost her betulim due to some type of injury of some sort, even though she did not have relations with anyone. Niv'ala shelo kedarka, harez zo keniv'ala kedarka. If she had relations not in the typical way, as we mentioned before, what kedarka and lo kedarka is in Hilchot Ishut, it's as if she had relations in the typical way. Niv'ala livhema harez muteret. If she had relations with an animal, she would still be permitted to marry a Kohen Gadol. Halacha Tedvav, Kohen Gadol shenasa be'ula eno lokeh aval motzi beget. A Kohen Gadol who married a woman who is not a betula, a woman who had relations before, does not receive lashes, but he must divorce her with a get. Nasa bogeret or mukat etz harezo yekayem. But if he married a bogeret or a mukat etz, he does not have to divorce them. Halacha Yud Bet. Aras betula. Be'ula mechila. Sorry. Eres be'ula. Eres be'ula v'nitmanna kohen gadol, hareze yichnos achar shenitmanna. If he betrothed, and yes, if he did kiddushin but not irusin to a um, be'ula, to a woman who had relations before, and then he was appointed to be kohen gadol, he can do kinus and can consummate the marriage after he was appointed. Anas na'ara betula. או פיתה אותה, אפילו אנסה או פיתה כשהוא הדיוט והתמנה כהן גדול קודם שיכנוס, הרי זו לא יכנוס ואם כנס מוציא. As we mentioned in Hilchot Na'ara Betula, someone who rapes a Na'ara Betula or seduces her is someone who rapes a Na'ara Betula must marry the Na'ara, provided she wants to marry him. But a Mefateh, someone who seduces a Betula, has the ability to choose to marry her, but he is not obligated to marry her and can simply pay a fine to her father. So a Kohen got so what this halacha here is saying is that the Kohen Gadol is not obligated to marry the Anusa because the mitzvah of him marrying a Betula is still incumbent upon him. And the mitzvah to marry the Anusa is incumbent on the woman's choice, and she has the choice. Therefore, because the Kohen Gadol has the obligation to marry Betula, and the woman who was raped only has the choice to marry him, that the Kohen Gadol's obligation overrides the woman's choice. So, again, if the Kohen Gadol, if he raped a Na'ara Betula or he seduced her, even if he seduced her or raped her while he was a Kohen Hidyot and then was appointed to be a Kohen Gadol, before, then this is all assuming he did not do kinus yet. He should not do kinus, and if he did do kinus, he must divorce her, as I mentioned. Eres et haketana ובגרה תחתיו קודם נישואין, הרי זה לא יכנוס מפני שנשתנה גופה, ואם כנס לא יוציא. If he did kiddushin to a minor and she becomes a bogeret while she is with him, but before the marriage is consummated, before nisuim are done, he should not do kinus and cannot marry her because she has undergone a physical change. But if he did marry her, he does not need to divorce her. Yes, and the physical change that the Harambam is referring to here is the physical change, obviously, that happens while she is a ketana and after she becomes a bogeret, namely puberty. And it's not like it's not as if he did kiddushin to an older woman. But again, we don't compel them to get divorced if kinus was already done. Halacha Yod Gimal. Ahat girusha min ha'erusin o min hanisuin. And going back to something that we mentioned before, there's no difference between a woman in regards to, this is in regards to a girusha, that there's no difference between a woman who was divorced after she was mikudeshet or after she was after she was a nisu'ah and after the marriage was consummated. Both are prohibited to marry a kohen. אבל הממאנת אפילו גירשה בגט והחזירה ומענה בו, הרי זו מותרת לכהן כמו שביארנו בהלכות גירושין. But a woman who has the right to, who can exercise her right of refusal, that's a mema'enet. And a mema'enet, a mema'enet is someone who is a girl who was married off while she was a ketana by either her father or her brother or her mother, of which the kiddushin are only effective midirabanan. So if she and she yes, and she has the right to refuse the marriage. So if she in fact does refuse to marry someone and she exercises this right, even if the husband gave her a divorce and then took her back, and then she exercised her right of mi'un against him, as we explained, yes, as we explained in Hilchot Girushin, she would be um, allowed to marry a kohen and is not considered a girusha. Yes, and she would be permitted to marry a kohen, and she's not considered, yes, a gerusha. בכל מי שאינה ראויה לחליצה, אם נחלצה לא נפסלה לכהונה. If a woman who is not liable for halitza, for example, if the woman was pregnant, if halitza was done to her, she also is not invalidated to marry a kohen and is not considered a gerusha. Halacha Yodalid, yatsa alav kol. If there were rumors that were spread about this guy, and these rumors are substantiated by Beit Din, even though we don't have a full-fledged proof. That is a call, as you mentioned in Hilchot Issure Perek Tet. So yatsa alav kol ish peloni kohen katav get leishto. And there's a rumor that so and so, who is a kohen, wrote a get to his wife. Onatan get leishto, or he delivered a get to his wife. Harehi yoshevet tahtav umshameshatu, and motzi'in otam mitahat ba'ala. And at this time, the woman is still sitting in his domain and acting like his wife, and behaving as if she is his full-fledged wife. This is not enough to have them divorced. And if she married a second kohen, she must divorce this second guy. Yes, and this is all assuming that the first husband died, because let me read this halacha, this part again. And we don't, if she remarried after the first husband died and she remarried another kohen, she must divorce this second guy, because the kol is enough. Yes, because the kol came out before she remarried the second guy, so she would be considered a gerusha. No, mehila, she would not be considered a gerusha. We assume that she was still married to the first guy. No, mehila. Yes, sorry. She is considered a gerusha, so she can't remarry this second kohen because of the kol. יצא שמה בעיר שנתקדשה ונתגרשה מן הקידושין, חוששין לה כמו שביארנו בהלכות גירושין. If her name came out in the city, yes, if there were rumors about her in the city that she was married and then was divorced from a second marriage, we suspect this in regards to her, as we mentioned in Hilchot Girushin Perek Yod. But if there are rumors that she was a halutza, we don't suspect this, and we don't take this into account. And she can marry a kohen, because again, Hahamim did not, because this is, yes, she can marry a kohen. Halacha kaf aleph. Ava, yes, halacha, yes. Halacha in the middle of halacha tetvav. Yes. יצא כל על בתולה שהיא בעולה, אין חוששים לה ותינשא לכהן גדול. If there is a rumor about a betulat that she is a be'ula, we don't pay attention to this, and she may marry a kohen gadol. יצא עליה כל ששפחה, אין חוששים לה ותינשא אפילו לכהן. If there are rumors that she was a shifha, we do not take this into account, and she may even marry a kohen. And this shifha that we're talking about is a shifha Kanaanit that would be prohibited for any Jew to marry her. So if there is only a call that she was a shifha, we don't pay attention to it, and she again can marry a kohen. If there were rumors that she was doing zenut in the city, and yes, she committed adultery, we disregard this as well. ואפילו הוציאה בעלה משום שעברה על דת משה ויהודית, או בעדי דבר מכוער ומת קודם שייתן לה גט, הרי זו מותרת לכהן, שאין עושים אישה מאלו, אלא בעדות ברורה או בהודעת פיה. Even if her husband divorced her on the grounds that she violated דת יהודית or דת משה, yes, or either דת משה or דת יהודית, or with witnesses that saw her doing something despicable, that yes, eded davar mechoar, as you mentioned in Hilchot Issure, are things that are witnesses that testify that that she seemed to have done something inappropriate, but there is no full-fledged proof that she committed adultery, and the husband died before giving her a get, she would be permitted to marry a kohen, because a woman cannot be rendered forbidden for any of those reasons that we mentioned, except for explicit testimony, or by her own admission. For example, if she admits that she did zenut, or that she was raped. Amen.